Now, we go to this decision by Jim Chalmers to reinvent the wheel in relation to superannuation. I refer to an article by Michael Reid, and he wrote this March of 2022 before the election. Shadow Treasurer Jim Chalmers has pushed back on growing calls to cap super balances at $5 million, saying the reforming of superannuation will not be a priority if Labor forms government. Well, we all know that is now a priority. Helen has written to me in most, strident terms. Ray, you work all your life. You pay tax, you set up super to ensure you'll have money for a comfortable retirement without having to rely on the government. Yep, that's what a lot of people do. So what does the Labor do? The pack of bastards? They haven't been in government for even a year. They've already got their greedy eyes on our super funds. And the excuse is there are those who have large amounts in their funds, they're not paying enough tax. Well, it didn't get there without bloody hard work, planning in some cases, doing without to put money into the fund. It was also money that we paid tax on. That Labor mob have all the Labor buddies sitting on the super boards and God only knows how much they raid from the funds, and the taxes will be put into self-managed super funds. Then they wonder why the electorate hates their guts, sitting on their parliamentary salaries with their snouts in the taxpayer trough. A pack of bastards, says Helen. Well, plenty of people saying, not quite as powerfully as you, Helen, the same thing. Exactly the same thing. Max says, Julia Gillard's pre-election promise there'll be no carbon tax by government I lead. Well, you made hay while the sun shone with that. Well, I certainly did. The Albanese government assured voters pre-election it would not change tax laws regarding super. The Treasurer appears to have other ideas. At the moment, payment from an income stream from super investments is not required to be declared as income at tax time by retirees who'll also be receiving a top-up pension. If the Treasurer makes changes so an income stream payment is taxable, it may result in age pension recipients paying income tax again. Oops, another one. Oops. The RBA's program of tax hikes. But in a speech yesterday, the Treasurer made it clear he intended to start a conversation on how to rein in tax breaks that cost the budget $42 billion a year and which experts say favour wealthy Australians. Dr Chalmers said, when I think about how best we can use the budget to support Australians towards a better retirement, one fact stands out. Right now, we're on track to spend more on super tax concessions than the age pension by about 2015. I'm now convinced that's a sustainable way to get to our destination, good retirement incomes for more Australians now into the future. So in other words, spread the wealth. The communist mantra, spread the wealth from Dr Chalmers. But of course, prior to the election, no mention of this. Now, is it any wonder we don't trust politicians? Is it any wonder? They just lie through their teeth to get elected. Then when they get there, they do whatever they want to do with no reference to what they promised before they got there. Now, on the back of that, not the biggest deal in the world, but as I predicted, the removal of the monarch from the $5 note was not Treasury's idea. Again, Dr Chalmers, as he's known, is responsible for this. He made a captain's call, and I said it at the time, when they said, no, it's entirely a matter for Treasury. But he made a captain's call not to have King Charles III on the $5 note after the Reserve Bank ceded the decision of the Treasurer. Documents released under Freedom of Information have revealed. Chalmers announced in early February the Queen will be replaced by a design honouring the culture and history of first Australians, and that decision was made by the RBA in consultation with him. In the letter dated October 7, a month after the Queen's death, the RBA Governor Philip Lowe made it clear to Dr Chalmers that whether or not monarchs' portraits on the Australian banknote is of national significance, and was a decision best made by the Treasurer rather than the independent central bank. If the government is of the view that the King's portrait should be on the $5 banknote, then the bank will proceed and seek an appropriate image from the palace. Alternatively, if the government's view is that the monarch should no longer be on the Australian banknote, the bank will explore a new design that honours the culture and history of the first Australians. On December 16, Chalmers wrote back, of these two options presented by the bank, the government would be comfortable with a new design that honours the culture and history of first Australians, assuming a proper process for inclusive consultation is undertaken. Now, in a statement yesterday, and you can't tell lies, Jim Chalmers, you can't tell lies, he deflected responsibility to the central bank. No, They gave you the option and you chose the option. I mean, there goes with this job as, you know, the second most important job in federal parliament, the Treasurer, a certain responsibility to tell the truth. And you've been caught on 2 occasions within 24 hours telling porkies. And the vernacular is porky pies, lies. Lies, you're telling lies. You're responsible for both decisions. One you didn't tell us about and one you're blaming some of the mob for. It's just ridiculous.
Prime Minister, no mention today or tonight, as a matter of fact, about the carbon tax. Have you decided that's going to cost you votes? Is that why it's on the shelf?
There will be no carbon tax under the government I lead. What we will do is we will tackle the challenge of climate change. We've invested record amounts in solar and renewable technologies. Now I want to build the transmission lines that will bring that clean, green energy into the national electricity grid. I also want to make sure we have no more dirty coal-fired power stations. I want to make sure we're driving greener cars and working from greener buildings. I will be delivering those things and leading our national debate to reach a consensus about putting a cap on carbon pollution.
Well, Saturday is fast approaching. Prime Minister, thanks for your time. Julia Gillard there in Brisbane.